What's up, y'all? Today we're ranking the top 25 players in the MLB that are under the age of 25. Now, a couple days ago, I saw this guy, GiraffeNeckMarc. He is kind of like the biggest person in MLB YouTube. He did this video, so I thought it'd be interesting if I made my own list, and I'll show in comparison how I rate these players compared to GiraffeNeckMarc. So on each player, I'll have my rank and then his rank. We're just gonna get started right now. I mean, ranking players that are under 25 is really tough because these guys have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 years under their belt, and it's hard to rank based on potential plus what they've actually accumulated. So I did my best. We'll start off at number 25. It's Jesus Luzardo, starting pitcher for the Oakland A's. GiraffeNeckMarc actually didn't even have Jesus Luzardo on his list, which is definitely interesting. I really like Jesus Luzardo. He's one of my favorite players. He's got a lot of hype, has not had a great career so far. At 24, I have Tristan Mckenzie. He had him at 23. Tristan Mckenzie is another player with a lot of hype that I really like. He came up in 2020 and was really good. He's really skinny, and hopefully he has a really good full season now in 2021. At number 23, I have Keston Hiura. Not a great 2020, not a great start to 2021, but he's still a really good player. At number 22, I have Ryan Mountcastle. Ryan Mountcastle is the opposite of Hiura. Came up, he wasn't that big of a prospect. Like, he was a big prospect for the Orioles, but not in the grand scheme of things. He came up and had a really good 2020. I think he was second in AL Rookie of the Year, or third, because Robert and Lewis. Coming in at number 21, I have Sixto Sanchez, and this was kind of a surprise that GiraffeNeckMarc didn't have him on his list. Sixto is off to a weird start in 2021. He hasn't pitched yet, and he has shoulder inflammation, I think it was. But 2020, he came up. I really like Sixto Sanchez because he reminds me of Pedro Martinez. The mechanics, he even has a 45 number tattooed on his neck for Pedro Martinez. He came up and was dominant in 2020. And that Marlins rotation is looking amazing with him, Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, Trevor Rogers just had a breakout game. The Marlins, watch out for them the next couple of years. Coming in at 20, I have Dustin May, a guy that has all the skills, was kind of a piece in the Dodgers winning last year, but didn't live up to the top potential. That's just one rookie season where they played 60 games. Coming in at 19th, I have Julio Urias, so Dodgers. Back-to-back Dodgers pitchers. I like Urias a little bit more than May, just because of what he did in the World Series. He had a 3-inning save to close out that Game 6, which was massive. That's a big part of it. And then now here's one coming at 18 that me and GiraffeNeckMarc did not agree on. I put at 18, I put Trent Grisham. He put Trent Grisham at the 6th best player. Now, Trent Grisham won a Gold Glove, but we haven't seen anything besides the 10 homers and the 10 stolen bases he hit. He's a really good player. I really like Trent Grisham. I just didn't put him 6th. I think I like him more in the 18th spot. And then coming in at number 17, I have Ian Anderson, who came up, and if you want to talk about dominance, he had a below 2 ERA for the entire regular season, and then a below 2 ERA, I'm pretty sure, in the playoffs. So he was amazing. Only reason he's here is because he doesn't quite have that top prospect label. So maybe this is like, I mean, if that's his ceiling, he's going to be, if he does that for his career, he's going to be one of the best pitchers of all time. You can't expect that, but he's off to a really good start. And then number 16, you have Vlad Guerrero Jr., who, in comparison to all the hype he had, has been a slightly disappointing. He's still been an above-average player. In 2020, he's off to a super hot start, lost the weight. 2021 is going to be his year. And then at number 15, we have Alec Bohm. I'm a big fan of Alec Bohm. I think he's going to hit 30 home runs this year. He finished second in NL Rookie of the Year last year or maybe he finished third because of Key Brian Hayes. Whatever. Point is, he's a really good third baseman. The Phillies are off to a great start this year. If him stepping up and being a big piece with Harper and Realmuto, that'll be a massive thing for the Phillies to make the playoffs this year. We're going to keep moving on to 14th. I have Luis Robert. GiraffeNeckMarc had him at 10. Luis Robert, all the hype in the world. If he hits this next step in 2021 and joins the likes of maybe a tier below Acuna, Soto, Tatis, I think that's what his potential is for. He cut down a little bit on the strikeouts. We'll go to number 13, and it's Key Brian Hayes. Had an amazing 2020. Came up, hit 457. He's got stellar defense. This guy has an amazing career ahead of him because even if he's an average bat, his defense at third base will keep him in the league for a long time. And if he hits, he's going to be an all-star. Moving on to number 12, we have Mike Soroka. It feels like we haven't seen Mike Soroka in forever. He got injured right at the start of 2020. Before that, he was disgusting. He was amazing in 2019 for the Braves. 2021, he should be back at the end of April, start of May. I'm excited for that. Going into number 11, I have Kyle Tucker. We both kind of agreed on this. He had him at 12. Kyle Tucker is another top prospect that struggled for through the first year or two of his career, and then 2020 went off, had an amazing season for the Astros. The Astros have 2 players on this list, and both of these guys I am super high on. And I mean, we're still not out of the era of the Altuve, Springer, Correa, those guys, Bregman, and the Astros still have more help coming. Now take us to number 10. We have Alex Verdugo. I'm one of the biggest Alex Verdugo fans I would love Alex Verdugo. Now, GiraffeNeckMarc had him at 5. I still don't think he's better than these couple players I rank. I will now rank later, but I love Alex Verdugo. He's batted 300 his entire career. I mean, he's not gonna be ever as good as Mookie Betts. That's amazing. That's a tough thing to live up to, but he's a really solid player. Great defense, 300. He might hit 20 homers. He's a really solid player. We'll now move on to number 9, Eloy Jimenez. Only reason GiraffeNeckMarc didn't have him on the list is because he's barely going to play this year. He'll come back for I'm not sure if he's going to come back this year, but don't quote me on that. Eloy Jimenez came up 2019. All he did was rake. 2020, all he did was rake as well. I think he's the second coming of Marcell Ozuna. I love Eloy Jimenez. Number 8, we have Bo Bichette, also one of my favorite players. I got the jersey right there. I had him at 8. GiraffeNeckMarc had him at 9. Bo Bichette is a player. See, when you have the Blue Jays, 3 young prospects that came up, you got Bo, you got Vlad, you got Biggio. I see Biggio as a player that's always going to be really solid, never going to make an all-star game. He's a utility player. He's never going to hit for 300. He's going to get on base a lot. Really solid player. I see Bo and Vlad as the guys with the tons of potential, and I actually see Bo as the player that can become more the star than Vlad. I think Vlad's going to be a guy that in his prime he'll hit 300, but Bo is a guy that could be the superstar of a franchise. So he's there at 8. And then number 7, I have Raphael Devers, a guy who's kind of flown under the radar in Boston. He is an amazing hitter, not a great defender. That left side of Boston's infield of Devers and Bogaerts ain't great defensively, but they can rake for sure. At number 6, I have Yordan Alvarez, and I'm super high on Yordan Alvarez. 2019 was amazing. 2020, I don't think he even played at all. But 2019, I think he will, whatever. He won Rookie of the Year in a small sample size, hitting a bunch of home runs. GiraffeNeckMarc had him at 11 because he's a DH. He'll never get that defensive WAR in his career. I'm fine with that. I think he's going to be a top 10 hitter in this league after this year. Also I made a trade in my fantasy league. I had Yordan Alvarez, and I traded him for Verdugo, which was to show how much of a Verdugo fan I am, because I also like Yordan, but I needed Verdugo, even though I still believe in Yordan's hitting. At number 5, I have Gleyber Torres. Now, it's always a tough decision, Torres or Devers, who's better, Red Sox, Yankees. I'm going Gleyber. Recency bias says that probably I should put him down lower in the list, but 2019, 38 home runs, not a great fielder, as we've seen so far in 2021. I still believe in Gleyber Torres. And then number 4, I have Aussie Albies. This is really, we're going to take a step up after this guy. Aussie Albies, still a really solid second baseman. I was having a hard time deciding between Albies, Torres, Devers. I went Albies at 4. Great defender, switch hitter. He's pretty good. At number 3, now it gets to the big boys. I'm going Fernando Tatis Jr. I really like Fernando Tatis Jr. I think he's played less games than the next 2 people, and I mean, I'm not going to get into those 3 guys debate right now. And number 2, I have Ronald Acuna Jr. Ronald Acuna Jr. He almost had a 40-40 season in 2019. Followed up with another great 2020. Starting off really hot to 2021. Obviously, he's a generational talent. And then number 1, I have Juan Soto, the next coming of Ted Williams. This guy is going to be one of the consensus best hitters in baseball in the next couple of years. I think he's already number 2 behind Trout. I love Juan Soto, one of my favorite players. I also love Ronald Acuna. I also love Fernando Tatis. These guys are so much fun. It's so much fun that they're all in the National League. These guys are going to be battling out for MVPs for years to come. It'll be so much fun. They're the next coming of it was Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. It was Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, and Duke Snyder. These guys are just like that. These are my top 25, under 25. A lot of players that I really like. I like a lot of the young players in the league this year. Goes to show these players are all under 25. The MLB has so much talent to come for the next couple years. I'm so excited. And I'm out. Peace.